Welcome to our math class. In this video presentation, we will learn about percentage. What is percentage? Percentage is used frequently in our daily lives. We use it to compute sales, discounts, commissions, personal income tax, inflation rate, or compare one quantity against another quantity. The word percent comes from the Latin word percentum, means per hundred, hundreds, or out of 100. In this illustration, there are 23 squares shaded purple. This means that 23 out of 100 squares are shaded. So 23 out of 100 or 23 hundredths of the whole is shaded. This implies that 23% of the whole is shaded. In decimal form, 23% is equivalent to 23 hundredths. 0.23 is read as 23 hundredths. You can also draw a diagram to show percentages, just like this. In the given picture, 1/4 or 25% of the whole figure is shaded blue. This means 25 out of 100 squares are blue. Also, 1/10 or 10% of the whole figure is shaded green. Since there are 10 green squares out of 100 squares, this implies 100 or 1% of the whole figure is red. There are 64 unshaded squares out of 100. This means 64% of the whole figure is unshaded. A fraction whose denominator is a power of 10 is called decimal fraction. For example, 9/10 and 97 hundredths are decimal fractions. When we say class power of 10, these are 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, and so on. Changing fraction to percent. To change a fraction with a denominator of 100 to percent, just write the numerator and annex the percent symbol. Example, change 35 hundredths to percent. Now we have 35, copy the numerator, then annex the percent symbol. So 35 hundredths is 35%. Changing decimal to percent. Likewise, you may also write the decimal in percent form. First, change the decimal to a decimal fraction and then change it to percent. For example, change 2 hundredths in percent form. Now we will write that in fraction form, 2 out of 100, then copy the numerator, then annex the percent symbol. So 2 hundredths is 2%. To change percent to decimal, first write the percent as a decimal fraction, then write it as a decimal. For example, change 16% to a decimal. 16%, write it in a fraction form, 16 out of 100. In decimals, that's 16 hundredths. Another option is to simply drop the percent symbol and move the decimal point 2 decimal places to the left. Moving the decimal point 2 decimal places to the left is a shortcut for dividing the number by 100. So 16%, drop the percent symbol, then move 2 decimal places going to the left. To change your decimal to percent, just do the opposite. Move the decimal point 2 decimal places to the right and then annex the percent symbol after the number. Moving the decimal point 2 decimal places to the right is a shortcut for multiplying the numerator of the corresponding decimal fraction by 100. Study this example. 35 hundredths is 35 out of 100, and that's equal to 35%. Or we have 35 hundredths, and multiply it by 100, and we have 35 hundredths times 100 over 100 is 35%. You can change non-decimal fraction to percent using another option. First, apply equivalent fractions to change the fraction to a decimal fraction. Then, change the decimal fraction to percent. Another way is to divide the numerator by the denominator. Then, change the quotient to percent. Let's have the first option. 4/5 is equal to 80 out of 100, or 80 hundredths. We're able to get 80 out of 100. So we look for the equivalent fraction of 4/5 with a denominator of 100. So we multiplied 5 by 20. Since we multiply the denominator by 20, we will also multiply the numerator by 20. So 4 times 20 is 80, and 5 times 20 is 100. So a non-decimal fraction, 4/5, is 80 hundredths in a decimal fraction. Then we could change it to percent. So 80 hundredths is 80%. Copy the numerator, then add the percent symbol. Another way is by dividing the numerator by the denominator. Listen. Another way to change a fraction 4/5 to percent form is to divide the numerator 4 by its denominator 5. Let's do this. 4 divided by 5. 4 can't be divided by 5, so we will add decimal point, then let's have 2 zeros. Since we will change it to percent, percent means per 100. 4 divided by 5 cannot be 0. Now let's have these two digits. 4 and 0 is 40. 40 divided by 5 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. Then let us subtract. We have 40 minus 40 is 0. Bring down 0. Divide by 5, that's 0. And times or multiply, that's 0. Subtract 0 and 0, 0. And don't forget to copy the decimal point directly above the dividend. So, fraction form, which is 4/5, is changed into decimal form, which is 80 hundredths. Now, to change this decimal form into percent, we will move 2 decimal places going to the right. Then we have 80. Moving 2 decimal places going to the right means multiplying it by 100. Then add the percent symbol. Now what is 4/5 in percent form? We have 80%. Let's have this illustration finding the fraction, the decimal, and the percentage. This shows 1 whole, then that is and 1 and a 100%. This 2 parts with 1 shaded part is 1/2 in decimal form, that is 5/10, in percentage that is 50%. And then the third, this is 1/4 in decimal form, that is 25 hundredths, in percentage that is 25%. Next, we have 5 equal parts with 1 shaded part, so we have 1/5 in decimal, that is 2/10, in percentage that is 20%. Next, in Out of 8 equal parts, we have one shaded part, so that is 1/8. Its decimal form, or in decimal form, that is 125 thousandths. In percentage, that is 12.5%. And last, we have 10 equal parts with one shaded part, that is 1/10. In decimal, that is 1/10, or 0.1. And in percentage, that is 10%. Proportion is often used to solve percentages problems. One of the ratios in this proportion is always a comparison of two numbers called percentage and the base. The other ratio, known as the rate, is a fraction with a denominator of 100. Since 3/4 is 75%, then a proportion of 3/4 is 75 out of 100 is equivalent to 3/4 equals 75%. In the said proportion, 3/4 is equal to 75 over 100. That is 75%. 4 is the base. 3 is the percentage. And 75 is the rate. Let's have this example. What is 40% of 50? 40% is the rate and 50 is the base. If n is the percentage part, then the related proportion is n over 50 is equal to 40 out of 100. Since the product of means is equal to the product of the extremes, then that is 40 times 50 equals 100 times n. Solving the proportion yields to 2000. 40 times 50 is 2000 equals 100 n, or 100 times n. That is 2000 divided by 100 is 20. Now what is n? N is 20, or the percentage is 20. 30%. To check your understanding, answer the following. Number 1. What does percent mean? Number 2. How will you simplify 45% to a fraction in its simplest form? Number 3. How will you change 80% to a decimal? Number 4. How will you convert 0.35 or 35 hundredths to a fraction? Number 5. How will you convert 1.25 to percent? That's all for today. Please like, share, and subscribe to watch more videos. Thank you for watching.